Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody rise up weekdays. Catch us live, somebody. Let's go.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening and good morning to every single last one of y'all. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Honestly, the press conference is already happening right now as we speak, from my understanding. So we're going to jump right into this as quickly as I can, or as quickly as we can. Okay. I thought it was going to start at 2:30. It looks like it has already begun, which is so weird. And it's even, it's weird. Anyway, we're going to roll back the whole thing and we're going to start watching it from the beginning. But anyway, before we get into everything, man, it angers me because I thought I had time. And then I find out it started already. I'm like, what is that? So it is what it is. It's fine. It is what it is. So do me a favor, hit that like button down below. That'd be greatly appreciated. You know what to do. Hit that reaction button as well. That'd be greatly appreciated. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button on all my social medias. That'd be really, really great. Check out my join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon and all that stuff. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. We're going to go into this fairly quickly because honestly, I didn't know it was happening so soon. It said a certain time and they started super early. Okay, from my understanding. So we're going to get into this. We're going to take a look at this whole thing. And I'm going to start from the very beginning of this bad boy. Again, didn't know it was going to happen start early, but it started early. Okay, so we're going to start from the beginning. We're going to hear from where this press conference first starts off, and we're going to keep it rolling. Okay, please do me a favor, hit the number 1 and let me know you guys can hear this. Let's rock and roll into this, guys. All right. Let us go.
It was put in the format of a court order. I just had it delivered to Judge Brahma Holmes, who is the judge that is assigned to this case. She has reviewed it. She found it to be appropriate, and she has signed it. So we went and have clocked and filed it with the court. It's not going to be available probably immediately because I literally just clocked and filed it. I'm sure that you're interested in knowing some of what it is about. First of all, I just want to tell you that in terms of a temporary hearing in family court, it is exactly what it says. It is an order that's issued by the judge on a temporary basis. And usually those are issued because there's an immediate need for some sort of relief, whether that be in other cases like temporary custody of children, making sure things are being paid and people are being supported and children being supported. In this case, obviously, there's not any children involved, but we still needed some temporary relief from the court. Whenever those hearings are held, there is no live testimony. There is only, it's a paper-driven hearing. In other words, the only thing that is presented is actual affidavits from the parties and then any supporting affidavits that would corroborate their story. We were prepared today to bring forward our client's affidavit as well as other supporting affidavits, as well as I'm sure that Mr. Miller and his attorney were too. However, under the circumstances, we decided to enter into this agreement. One of the primary issues that we were seeking a court order from the judge is possession of Micah's personal property that's being held in the possession of Robeson County Sheriff's Department. As you've probably seen, the property that's with them is her personal cell phone, her purse, whatever's inside her purse, her vehicle, and whatever is in her vehicle. As far as anything beyond that, we're not sure what all is available there, but that was something that we wanted to make sure that we got in our custody. So as part of the consent order, the parties have agreed that would be Sierra Francis on behalf of her sister Micah. She stands in as the plaintiff for Micah at this point, and Mr. Miller have agreed that property will be released from the Robeson County Sheriff's Department, or if they've put that property with somebody else, another investigative authority. When all authorities are finished with that property and have no use, no longer any use for it, in other words, they've finished up whatever investigations or whatever they need that property for, then that property is going to be turned over to my office. It will not be released to Mr. Miller. And that does not mean that he doesn't have the right to see what's on a cell phone, which we're all interested in looking at. We also don't know what else may have been in the purse or the wallet or anything like that. His lawyer would be able to ask us about having access to it too. But right now, we are very satisfied and happy that he has been advised by his attorney to allow us to get that property in our possession.
Okay.
Other terms that were part of the agreement had to do with the vehicle that Micah was driving in North Carolina. That vehicle was actually also titled in another lady's name, Miss.
Sorry, guys. 1 second, okay? My computer is glitching. Give me 2 seconds. I got to fix something. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that, guys. It was glitching like crazy. I had to fix that.
Miss Neosi, who is her godmother. So the parties have agreed that that vehicle will be released back to Miss Diana. It is her vehicle, and that's who should get it. We also agreed to respective restraining orders. These are family court restraining orders. They're pretty standard in most family court cases. For instance, in this particular case, there will be a mutual restraint that no party will dispose of any marital asset or do anything to devalue the asset. That is because what is part of the question here is what part of the marital estate belongs to Micah. And that's what we've got to get to next. So there's a restraining order that nobody can dissipate, sell, transfer any property that may be considered marital. In addition to
Ain't that some crazy stuff? I'm sorry for pausing it for a second, but don't you think that's interesting about like what is marital like property and what isn't? I'm sorry. This is the first time I've heard something like this in my life personally. All right, so this is very, very new. And the fact that that somebody maybe like JP and whatever are leaning on that is very interesting. Just something I thought surprising. And yes, off the record, even said he's got plenty of time. He's had plenty of time to go through all the stuff that she had in her home and all that. And he's sitting here claiming marital property. See, I think this is the other reason why. Remember, Anna Francis, her sister, was on that interview with Fitz News, right? And she said that as soon as it was announced that she had passed, he went and he dropped the divorce. He made sure that the divorce was dropped. And this may be the reason why, or this may be one of the many reasons why. I find it very fascinating. Very fascinating indeed. Let's continue.
To that, there's also a similar restraining order that goes to the opposite in terms of debts and things like that. Whenever you're in a marriage, you may have the capability of having your spouse be a part of some debt. So there's a restraint on not incurring any further marital debt. And then, of course, there is a restraining order with regard to the protection of people. And that protection of people in this place goes both ways. It is a mutual restraining order. It is not a restraining order in the matter that a lot of people think of as in a criminal case. In a criminal case, whenever a restraining order is issued or a no contact order is issued on behalf of the victim, that means that the person that's being held against has no authority, cannot go around that person at all, period. And they can get locked up on site for violating a conditions of a bond or a no contact order. And this particular situation, because we are in family court, it's a little different. If someone violates a restraining order in family court, you have to put together your evidence, and you have to file a petition called a rule to show cause. You have to request the hearing. You also have to serve that person notice that you're making an allegation that they have violated a court order. And then you have your day in court, just like any other trial setting, where you get to present evidence and witnesses, and then you prove or you defend against whether you've violated a family court restraining order. So there's a lot more hoops to it. In this particular case, the restraining order basically is saying that the parties are mutually restrained from contacting the other, that all communications will be handled through the attorney's offices. So there's no need for any direct communication. We're also under a mutual restraint to not go into the area of a person's residence or where they work. And if they do, they're to return and leave if the other person is there. So whoever is there first gets to stay, and the other one needs to return, turn around and leave. Well, everyone is also restrained from making any, threatening, any physical harm or anything like that. By us entering into these restraining orders, please do not misconstrue. That does not mean specifically that someone has already done these types of behaviors. These are formalities that are put into place to protect all parties prior to anything like that happen. So we have not, let me make it clear, not had any problems with Mr. Miller trying to contact anybody or anybody trying to violate any of these terms. These are put into place as a formality on the front end for the protection of all parties involved. It also makes clear what the boundaries are. And then if anyone violates what's written in this court order, they'll have an opportunity to file a contempt action or a rule to show cause. No one goes to jail on site for violating this particular type of restraining order. There were other issues that were asked for, or relief that was asked for in our motion. We've decided to put those, what we call, hold them in abeyance. In other words, we've not given up the right to pursue whatever relief we were asking for, but we've all agreed that we will set that to the side for the moment and that we will come back to it at a later time. There's various reasons for doing that. One thing is to quickly, what we wanted to get was this order that we would have possession of Micah's personal property that's in the currently in the possession of Robeson County Sheriff's Department. So at this time, one of the things that's very important for the family, and after this, we would like to refrain from answering any questions. I want you to refrain from asking any questions from the family members. Any questions that you'll have to ask, please direct them to me and I will answer them for you. I'm going to let you know right now what we're going to talk about next is actually something that was brought to our attention. We have been so impressed and just so happy with people who have taken interest in this case for good causes, for people who have given us tips, who have sent us information and guided us through various avenues where we were looking for answers for certain things. And the family is very grateful for that. There is still a lot to be done here. There is something that's very important to this family today and is also important to this community, we have learned. And that is, there is a petition going around for what everyone's referring to as Micah's Law. And we want Micah's Law. This is a book that I put together with some information, some research, and things that I've done about Micah's Law. Would you be shocked to know that that very law has already been drafted and has been sitting in the General Assembly and the Judiciary Committee, both in the House of Representatives and the Senate? Don't get too happy. It's been sitting there since February the 2nd of 2020.
Oh, wow.
Now I'm mad. Are you mad? I'm mad. So let me tell you the history. On February the 20th of 2020, what is referred to as the Coercive Control Bill was introduced to the House of Representatives. And I want to make sure I get the name right. I believe it was a former representative, McLean Toole, Toole. He presented that bill read it into the House of Representatives. And what happens after that is it's referred to what's called a Judiciary Committee. Now, the Judiciary Committee is tasked with looking at the bill, seeing what needs to be improved, what needs to be deleted. In other words, going through the process to make sure that it is properly codified and put in, and that it's ready for law. So the Coercive Control Bill, when it was introduced as House Bill number 5271. You can get online and track it. It goes nowhere. It goes to the Judiciary Committee, and it goes no further. Folks, that was 4 years ago. Then again, I said, on January the 12th of 2021, House Representative Robert J., also referred to as RJ, May, M-A-Y, the third, he introduced the same bill, Coercive Control Bill. It was known as House Bill 3621. That was 3 years ago. When you do the research on the bill, guess what? It got referred to the Judiciary Committee. Now, normally when it gets there, there should be a subcommittee that is assigned to take that particular bill, to study it, to review it, to bring in whatever advisors or other professionals to help craft that bill and put it into hopefully its perfect form. It went to the Judiciary Committee in the House and never went any further. Can't find where it was assigned to anyone or anything. Now let's go back 2.5 years ago. December the 7th, 2021, Senator Katrina Fry Shelley, she introduced into the Senate the Coercive Control Bill. What do you think happened to it?
Not a damn thing.
To the Judiciary Committee. I need to tell you more about that particularly. And before I do so, let's make sure everyone understands what is the Coercive Control Bill. Coercive control refers to a pattern of behavior used by one person to dominate, manipulate, and intimidate another within an intimate or familial relationship. It encompasses acts such as assault, threats, humiliation, emotional abuse, and isolation. The goal is to harm, punish, and frighten your victim through fraudulent representations. It often refers to specific types of behavior. The Coercive Control Bill, Senate Bill 927, sitting in the Senate right now, offers a definition for coercive behavior. I have reviewed it. I agree. I am a lawyer, so I have some input on that. I agree with a lot of the things that are listed there, but I think they left out a few. the bill itself, whenever this is called status information. It's about the bill that's in the Senate called coercive control. Interestingly enough, after it was introduced and read in by Senator Shealy, if you look at other bills, what happens a lot of times, other senators or other representatives will jump on board. After it's read, you'll start seeing, when you look through the history of it, and say, this particular representative or this particular senator has asked for the bill, for them to be added as a sponsor to the bill. I don't see any other name on there for Senator Shealy. I think part of that has to do with how the public, as well as maybe our legislators, as well as our police department, are not educated to this form of abuse. It is real, people, and it is real damaging. Now, the interesting thing is back in 2019 and 2020, both of those years, I want to say it was WBTW, did a series on coercive control, emotional abuse, psychological warfare. Also running for re-election, I believe, at the time was Senator Luke Rankin, who, if you'll recall, pointed to his opponent and said he was involved in domestic violence. Seems to me that that was on his mind. Do you know who is in control and who the chairman is of the committee on the judiciary in the Senate? Luke Rankin. He has the ability to assign this bill to a subcommittee. He has the ability, if he wanted to put it on his agenda and walk it all the way through and make sure it gets done. This bill has been put in a folder in a dust-covered box in a back corner of the closet in the Judiciary Committee's office. I challenged them to go back there and find it and bring it out and assign a committee to it. Let's get this done. It is important. It is extremely important. Now, going back to the bill and how it defines controlling behavior. According to this proposed bill, and granted, this can change, and this bill does need some work, okay? But it's a start. It's some bones. It's something to deal with or to start with. Controlling behavior also, excuse me, I want to go to the next thing, which is types of behavior. This bill lays out types of behavior to look for. Now, I don't know if you saw or you remembered, but there was an interview that was done of me that said, hey, do you think, what do you think about the police and what they did? Well, here's what I think. I think the police didn't have anything to look to. They show up, they look for bruises. They look for black eyes. They look for scratches. They look for those types of things. And not seeing any, no crime here. They don't have a law to look to. Now, let me read you some of these behaviors that had this been a law at the time, the police officers would have had something to look to and to gauge it. The offense of coercive control of another person may include, but is not limited to, the following types of behavior. The very first one, isolating a person from their family and friends. In and of that stuff, that is not a crime. Next is depriving a person of their basic needs, food, shelter, clothing. The next one is monitoring a person's time. That's done a number of ways. Trackers, PIs, looking through their cell phones, looking at what they're doing online, driving by the job, who you talking to, where you at. D, subsection D, monitoring a person via online communication tools and using spyware. You know, the interesting thing here is when people are married and the police are called to a domestic situation, usually what happens is they're told by the police officers, because this is what they get to go to, is, ma'am, sir, this sounds like a domestic issue. You need to go see a family court lawyer, or you need to go file something in family court. Well, the first thing that a coercive control abuser does is take away your money, take away your transportation, and your way of communication, and the friends that support you. How are you going to get there? How are you going to pay for it? Going on to the next one, E says taking control over aspects of a person's everyday life, including where the person may go, who the person may see, what a person may wear, and when a person may sleep. Next is depriving a person access to support services and medical services. Next is repeatedly insulting a person, including expressing the person's worthlessness. Enforcing rules and activities within the home that humiliate, that degrade, and dehumanize a person.
Now, did he do any of those things, ladies and germs? Think about it.
A person to take part in criminal activity, including shoplifting and neglect or abuse of children. Children are often used as tools and weapons against the one that they want to dominate. They also encourage the person's self-blame and prevent disclosure to authorities. If you tell, this is what's going to happen to you. Next is financial abuse, including control of finances and only allowing a person a punitive allowance. You don't need to get your hair done. It looks fine. You don't need the other money for that. You don't need a new set of boots. You got plenty. Next is threats to hurt or kill. That's a lot. Threats to a child, threats to reveal or publish private information or extort the person or a member of the person's family in retaliation by legal or other means. Assault. Most people think of assault plus the battery, assault and battery. Assault is in the fear, someone placing you in fear, raising my hand, my fist to you. You're afraid I'm going to hit you. That's an assault. Usually what happens after an assault is the battery, where the hand or the fist comes down. Assault doesn't leave bruises, but it sure does on the psyche of the person who's experiencing it. After that is rape. Non-consensual, of course, that's what that means. Sex that both parties don't agree to. There's no pass when you're married. Preventing a person from having access to transport or from working, taking their car away from them. They lose their job. They can't go to their mamas. They can't, go see their friend who's their confidant or the one that they can lean on. Can't take the children to the daycare to get to the job. Transportation impacts a lot of areas. Those are the types of behaviors that are listed by this bill, I have developed what's called Micah's list. Micah's list tracks what the bill says. And we put together things that she journaled, diaried, or put together to say happened. Please keep in mind that John Paul Miller has never been arrested for domestic violence. He's never been arrested for any harm against Micah. And everything that's put in here, quite frankly, is her words on paper. I have no reason not to believe her, but in fairness, you need to understand that what I'm about to read are things that Micah alleged in her writings and journal. I'm not going to go through the ones that we just went through. I'm going to go through the ones that I suggest and recommend that the Judiciary Committee consider asking the subcommittee that hopefully will be assigned very soon to consider. General emotional abuse. All of this together is emotional abuse, psychological abuse. It's psychological warfare. Ignoring requests and commands to stop, to leave me alone, go away. Cruelty to your pets. That one's used just like children. Destruction of property. Keying cars, slashing tires, whatever that may be. Destruction of the supporting evidence that the alleged victim had in mind to use against the perpetrator. Misuse of legal documents. Sending letters such as cease and desist to threaten to file lawsuits or threaten to take other legal action is an improper use of the legal system. I don't know how many people would ever get a letter from a lawyer that would not be concerned or afraid. That's what we do when we send those letters. We threaten to sue you. Next, I would suggest is misuse of legal documents. Excuse me, I'm sorry I said that one. Misuse of law enforcement. Calling the police for no reason. Gaslighting, saying something happened that didn't happen. Telling somebody they can do something, then turn around and call the cops on them and tell them that you didn't say that. Whatever. That's such a waste of time of taxpayers' money. Now, law enforcement need to be doing other things than that. But it's intimidating. And then you find yourself, you're having to defend yourself against something you didn't do. Misuse of the legal process. Filing divorce actions, dragging you in the court, dropping them, filing them again, dropping them, filing other papers in the court. Using the court system not for legitimate purposes, but for purposes of intimidation and control.
Damn.
Another factor should be adultery, promiscuity. Another should be stealing a person's identity. Folks, do y'all know in today's time, technology, we can control everything from our phones. We can start our car. We can slam on brakes. We can turn up the heat and we can turn down the cold. Our domestic violence statute is archaic. We got to get it up to times, up to today standards, taking into consideration all the things and ways that a person who wants to control and intimidate can use.
She ain't wrong.
I would refer to that as cyber or technology abuse.
What's her name, by the way?
Making a person take medication that they're not prescribed, making them do other things, denying them access to medical care. Lots of different things that can happen there under medical abuse. Spiritual abuse. The next one I'm saying church abuse, but it really should say position of authority abuse. If your loved one works for you or you work for them, they have a position of authority on you. Fire you like that. You don't like what I say to do? You don't do what I tell you to do? You just lost your job. And then whenever you go and do all this list of things that I want you to do, I might let you come back. That's also financial control. Phone calls to everybody to explain everything. Called your mama, called your sister, called your brother, called your daddy, called your lawyer, called everybody. Explain it. And the last, of course, from my perspective, is physical abuse that doesn't leave marks. The shove against the wall, the hand around the throat to hold against the wall just long enough and tight enough where you can't move, but it won't leave a mark. Holding you down, won't let you up. Those are physical abuse that don't leave marks. The police come, they don't see marks. They can't do much. This will give them the tool that they need. It needs to be education about what coercive control is. Someone who's not lived in it or been a part of it sometimes has a difficulty wrapping their mind around what this is. Coercive control is basically like a psychological warfare. It will damage the very soul of a person. It will make them doubt and lose their self-confidence and especially their self-worth. And they'll give up. They'll give up on being happy. And they'll survive and trudge through day by day, or maybe they won't. What this family wants you to do is to help this. We want Micah's law. We want the coercive control bill to be looked at, taken seriously, put some time into it. And somebody make an amendment. You add your name as a sponsor and make an amendment to call it Micah's Law. What can you do? What can each of you do specifically? Sometimes we feel like we're not effective. We can't do certain things. Getting this law on the books will help. So what we have done I'm just going to show you. These are purple folders or envelopes that have all been stuffed and addressed to every member in the House of Representatives that are on the Judiciary Committee. There's also one in there for every senator that's on the Judiciary Committee. So y'all look for your purple envelopes. Now, what the public can do here is hold your legislators accountable. What have they been doing? Take a look at it. Contact your legislators, both in the House and in the Senate. Let them know you're mad. Let them know you're on board. Let them know that you are their constituent, and if they want your vote next year, they better get this done. You can call them. Their numbers are published online. The website to go to is www.scstatehouse.gov. If you don't know who your senator is for your district, if you don't know who your House or who your representative is in the House, you can go on that website, put in your address, and it'll tell you who that person is. So I would encourage you to reach out to whoever is representing your district in both the Senate and the House. But don't forget those who are on the Judiciary Committee. So go there and you can look for the Judiciary Committee, both in the Senate and the House. You'll get the names of everybody there that's serving on that committee. They make it very easy. they have a place online there where you can submit an electronic message to them. You don't need to go and do all of this work. You can simply go online, fill out the form, submit it, and they'll have it. If you want to do a letter, but you just don't know what to say in it exactly, I have created a template form that is available for anybody who would like it. You can use it just like it is, or you can change it up, or you can use it as inspiration and write whatever you want. But please get those letters out there. You can also send them an email saying the same thing. Those email addresses are published on that scstatehouse.gov website. And then next, put it on your calendar every now and then. They have a thing called tracking that bill. Track that bill. Thank you to everybody for being here and for your patience. I know everybody was looking forward to seeing the drama in the courthouse or in the courtroom. There was never going to be any drama in the courtroom. It is not a live testimony type of hearing. Nobody got on the stand. Nobody would be cross-examined, that kind of a thing. It's simply a packet of papers that would have been presented to the judge while we sat in silence, while she reviewed the information and made her decision. So we do appreciate you standing out here in the heat too and waiting for us. At this time,
restraining orders that went out today, where were those for Micah? Because you represented her, so where were they?
no orders had been signed by any judge at this time or at that time.
How come they didn't go out for Micah though?
There was a request for restraining orders for Micah, but unfortunately Micah passed away before we got to court. But the request was there. So as I said earlier, what we would like to do is keep the focus on the coercive control, i.e. Micah's law. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has with regard to that. We'd like to keep the focus there. If you have questions for the family about anything else, we would ask that that be done at a separate time. Yes, sir, in the back.
Do you believe the justice system failed Micah? Current justice system. Do you believe that Luke Rankin, who was head of one of the leadership of the judiciary, was ahead of he's done more seeking reforms that you're calling for, or are you with the places you're calling for?
Yes, that's a very good question. So as it always is, there's two sides to every story, right? There's the side of the story that the position that the family takes that Mr. Miller is somehow responsible for her death, whether that's directly or indirectly. Obviously, it's been declared self-inflicted, so that is off the table. There is questions about whether this type of behavior would drive someone to take their own life. We do not know what was inside of Micah's head. Of course, her husband takes the position that she had a mental illness, that she didn't have her medication, and that the reason she did what she did was because of a mental illness, specifically bipolar. So to say that the judiciary failed her, because I don't know what really got her to that point, I have some suspicions, but I do know this. Based on all of the stuff that I have reviewed, the things in the journals that Micah left in my possession, tell me that a lot of these behaviors happened assuming that what she said was true, and I have no reason to believe it wasn't. If the law had been in place at the time, she could have reported these types of behaviors, and the police would have been able to look to that particular law, assuming that when it went to the governor for signature, that it would be in the same format or better or harsher or whatever. So I think that is a possibility, but to say for certainty is not possible. What I do know for certainty is that there are people who are being victims of manipulative and psychological abuse that's often overlooked, and this bill will help every one of those people, and that's husbands, wives, women, and husbands or men as well. So it's not gender specific. This happens on both sides.
Regina, do you know if this is in this kind of?
Hold on, I got to pause that for like just 1 second. Did she just say? Because I don't want to rewind it or anything. We got to keep it moving, of course. But you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Did she make a comment about bipolar disorder being the result of why Micah met her end? Or, am I correct there? Because I feel like I heard that. I heard Regina Ward say that, but I want to make sure I got that. I heard that correctly. So somebody in there, okay, because I feel like I feel like everybody else, just like myself, just reacted to that. Like, wait, what? You're saying what now? That because of her bipolar disorder, this is why. I'm. Hold on. Melly said, she said it could have been according to JP. Okay. I mean, if that's what she said. Interesting. All right. Let me just continue on. There's a lot more to go.
Kind of law is in other states, this kind of protection?
Yes, thank you very much for asking that. I actually meant to touch on that. When I mentioned about WBTW doing their special on this type of abuse back in 2020, I believe it was. Interestingly enough, go look it up, South Carolina made headlines for being one of the 4 states that was considering coercive control. Of the 4 was South Carolina, Hawaii, Connecticut, and California. Guess who's got laws on their books? Probably 3 years old now. Hawaii, California, and Connecticut. South Carolina doesn't. What did we miss?
Attorney Ward, if Michael's law gets passed, would it apply retroactively?
I wouldn't say that it would. Of course, it's up to the legislature, but I'm pretty sure that would not be fair to anybody anywhere. Usually whenever a law is passed or a bill is passed and signed into law, it usually comes with an effective date. So there would be some date that would be picked, and from that date forward, anything that violates that bill could be considered, part of, if that's a crime. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I've got a court document here from Surfside Court, Magistrate Court. On March 26th, Mica Miller filed a restraining order, which was dismissed without prejudice. You represented her at the time. Can you comment on why that was dismissed? Would this law change that?
I think that's a little bit of a misnomer. This is another part of the problem, is whenever you are married and you're being harassed by your spouse, and you can't get into family court or whatever, most people think about, hey, when somebody's harassing me, we all know you get 3 events. You go to the magistrate court and ask them to issue a restraining order and tell this person, leave me alone, right? That works really well for your neighbor or your whoever that's bothering you, because you can show, hey, they texted me. I said, don't text me anymore. And right after that, they sent me this long diatribe, okay? So whenever people who are married go to the magistrate court seeking that type of restraining order, they can fill out the paperwork, but then the judge will most likely look at it and say, this sounds like a family court matter. Why? Because you're married. And so they feel that the jurisdiction really belongs to the family court. Now, there is a small exception to that. If you look in the law, it says that the magistrate court can issue those types of restraints like family court can, whenever the family court is closed. So usually the judges like to stay in their lane. They don't want their orders overturned and that sort of a deal. So if it's a possibility to refer them to a family court when they're married, that's what they're going to do. She just went to the wrong place for that. And no, I wasn't representing her at the time, but I wish I would have been. Yes, ma'am.
So can you talk about the testosterone allegation?
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about any of those things.
Well, what portion of the law, of Micah's law, would apply to those allegations?
Okay, so as it's written, would probably be assault. Okay, The suggestion that I asked to be added would be medical abuse or that type of thing. It's also a form of battery whenever you administer somebody something against their will. Battery, actually, people think of a battery as it leaves a bruise. If you do this to me and I don't like it, that's a battery. If I told you not to touch me and you did, that's a battery. You accidentally bumping into me going down the hall is not a battery. It's an intent. Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. That reminds me of something else I should have told everyone, is we have set up the email address. It's called Justice for Micah Tips, TIPS. That's, of course, it was set up for people to send in tips. But if you want to send us an email to that particular email address, and so we can get your contact information and we'll be in touch with you, okay? Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
I'm assuming at gmail.com, I guess.
Yeah, very good question. Thank you for that. Okay, so this law, if it goes into effect, will be considered a felony. The suggestion is that it carries up to 10 years in prison. With it being a felony, police can't really lock up on site. If the police see you committing a crime in the front of their very eyes, of course they can arrest you for that. But whenever it's this many levels of elements and proofs that are required, what would happen at that point is the police officer would say, this seems like this might be coercive control, and then go to a magistrate who can issue a warrant if the magistrate determines there's probable cause. So if the magistrate compares the facts and things that are being relayed to him by the officer, then the magistrate would have the ability to issue that warrant and go from there. You've already been there. Yeah.
Just for clarification, S927 is the bill that you're supporting. You said it wasn't quite right, but you said it was a good start. That's the bill you want amended to be Micah's law. And do you want to see changes to it? Do you want to see a new bill? Do you want to see senators reaching out to you and kind of craft this legislation?
Thank you for that question. I had actually, in the letter that I'm sending to them, making some of my suggestions. I'm happy to read it to you if you want to hear it. But basically, the clear goal of the bill is to avoid any person from being psychologically and systematically abused. I had come up with 16 additional factors that I felt like were missing from the bill. I also believe that the bill needs to include mandatory ankle monitors for those who are arrested. Obviously, the person is, most likely following you around and doing things to intimidating, riding by where you are so that you see them. So I think an ankle monitor would be a good part of a condition of a bond for someone who's been arrested for that charge. I believe that it would be prudent to require that a portion of those fines and those fees and those ankle monitor costs and anything else associated with should be allocated to a domestic violence fund. We used to have CASA here, Citizens Against Spousal Abuse, and the funding sort of dried up. So it's always a question of how do we pay for these things? So I think that the percentage of the fines and the costs and things associated with that type of charge should be allocated to a domestic violence fund. I think the funds should be collected and paid to use as salaries to hire at least one attorney in every county of the state of South Carolina to offer free legal representation to victims of domestic violence. Coercive control is actually a part of the domestic violence statute that we have. I mean, it will be a part of it. So it's not a separate thing. It's actually requesting an amendment to the South Carolina domestic violence laws. In other words, adding another section to the title. The additional thing that I asked for in there is, well, I already said basically, is to try to get some representation because people are confused by the legal system. And so it would be really nice if they could count on legal representation whenever they don't have any money, they've been cut off financially, they've been cut off, transportation, et cetera. So those are some of the things. I also think that they should look at things like wrapping up first offense, second offense, third offense, those types of things, and making it an enhanceable crime. Okay, just a couple more. We're all baking out here, so thank you.
About how the criminal justice system that's moving except suicide, family intensive civil court system to hold or to attempt to hold Pastor Davis civilly liable.
As I've stated many times, we're collecting information to determine whether that will happen. I have been retained for that specifically, but right now we're just in a research and investigative phase. Yes, ma'am.
Come on back. Don't you do me like that. Hold on, guys. For some odd reason, it's the live must have ended or something. Hold on. Yeah, it's like a few minutes left. Hold on. There we go. Come on. There we go.
Yes. Wonderful.
Internet has been squishy lately for show.
Absolutely. And this coercive control bill is just an extension of the existing domestic violence that covers the physical abuse as well. And so it would just be another extension or leg of it. Yes, ma'am.
What is going to hold the police accountable, even if obviously this law is taking time? How can we make them aware? How can we, I mean, we're doing it now. They need to be held accountable too, to be more
Responsive. Yeah.
Of what's going on. And, sometimes if somebody has a lot of money in the community or a lot of time, they will take sides. So.
Yeah, thank you for the comment that the abuses, victims are, all, it's somewhat rampant. So it's not just about Micah. So no one's being forgotten. It's all about victims. We're just asking for it to be called Micah's Law because so many people have paid attention to this situation. All eyes are on it and people are paying attention. And we really want people to become educated. We want our police to be educated. They're not trained in it because it doesn't exist in law. They're trained to look for the things they know in law that are a crime, okay? So when we say hold the police accountable, as I've stated before, when they arrive on the scene and, a spouse is saying, she took my wallet and won't give it back and has my keys and won't let me leave the house, then the officer is going to diffuse the situation, okay? And it's a domestic situation. People get in fights, and fuss. I mean, it's part of being married too. It doesn't mean it's all abusive, but sometimes it gets, to a place where someone calls the police because they want something to happen. And so the police will look at it and say, well, I don't see any bruises on you, sir. I don't see anything like that. Did she hurt you? You know, that sort of thing. So if it's not a physical abuse thing or a physical manifestation of the abuse, the police just don't have anything to look to. So would this bill be made into law? Of course, I would imagine that there would be some form of training because it would be a new law that they would have to be familiar with and learn how to identify the elements that are associated with it. I think you had a question.
Yeah, when a marriage occurs, obviously the spouses get a lot of protection. You sort of alluded to how they would say something like, "Oh, it's a domestic matter." How exactly does the law change how a married couple is, how complaints within a married couple are handled? Other than, I mean, obviously it's new protection, but does it change regarding marriage?
Right. So I don't think anybody should be afraid that if I call the police saying, you know, that this particular thing is happening when it's really may not rise to the level of a crime, you know, she's yelling at me, won't leave me alone, kind of a thing, whatever is going on. With this bill, what happens, as I said before, the police cannot do anything about it. What they do is they will look at the totality of the circumstances, okay? It's going to require that there be different things. I think if you saw me say, when the police show up at your house 15 times, something's going on, okay? But the police don't have anything to look to say, what does it mean when you go to the house 15 times, okay? That would be an element to prove coercive control. That would be one of them. So, and the law needs to figure out what the combination is or how many things. I think there's a suggestion of 2 behaviors. You know, I don't know what it'll end up being. Maybe that's too many. Maybe that's too few. I don't know. Okay, so it is super hot and
She's hitting the orchestral music right now.
yeah, thank you very much. I haven't spoken to the family specifically about that, but I think I have an idea of what they would say. They want your support here. You don't need to be running around Mr. Miller's house and his back door and across the church, okay? We've already got the message out, and Micah's life is going to matter, regardless of whatever the reason was of what happened to her. Her life is going to leave a legacy, and her life is going to help people. That's where we need to focus now. We need to focus on that, because the other things that happened or may happen, we can't undo those. We can't undo those things that allegedly happened to Micah. But what we can do is going forward and being supportive that hopefully there won't be any other victims that got to this level. That's where we need to focus now.
Is it true that the FBI is investigating the death or they're not? Because there's a lot of speculation going around that the FBI is investigating her death.
Yeah, we're getting away from coercive control, Bill, with that question.
Can you say the email one more time when people can reach out?
Justice for Micah, TIPS, TIPS, at gmail.com.
Okay, thank you.
If you want to get someone convicted for stalking and harassment, at least you have to show 2 or more patterns of that within a 90-day period. It sounds like Micah, I mean, she made multiple police reports. I spoke to Jimmy Richardson, the 15th Circuit solicitor. He said that stalking and harassment here in South Carolina, that's pretty easy to prove. So in your perspective, why weren't any arrests made?
Well, I can't speak to that. I'm not the authority that was there to, police officers make judgment calls on when to arrest someone. If they're not sure or if they see, different types of behavior that require an issuance of a warrant, or they've learned of different types of behavior that may issue a warrant, then that's what the police, that's what's available to them to do. Okay, thank you so much to everyone. We do appreciate your support. We appreciate you standing out here in the hot and bearing with us. This is an important thing. You want to make a difference in this world. You want to make a difference for your neighbor, your loved ones, whoever's sitting on the pew next to you in church or wherever you are. A lot of people suffer in silence over this. And this, if it gets passed, should be an empowering moment for those who are a victim of it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Justice for Micah! Guilty!
Yes.
I wonder if you after you get a public break in 2 seconds to record interview. I know we just talked
Yes, I
forever,
just
but
want to cool off just for
Yeah,
1/2 second.
Mike is still on.
And I don't mind giving you want a copy of the order.
yeah. Thank you.
We also have packets for the media if you want it. It's a copy of the letter that's going out to the representatives. Yeah.
Word. Okay. I mean, hold on, let me get this out of the way. So there's that. There's that press conference. And I gotta be real. It was very telling. I got a couple things I want to share with you guys here too. Just so we understand a little bit, because we just kind of hopped into this. Mug, right? Even the press conference where I started, it was literally like mid-sentence. You see what I'm saying? It just kind of went live and just did its thing, out of nowhere. So the thing is, as you can see, they are trying to push for they're trying to push for some new laws, which I totally understand. The Micah's law, which I think is really amazing. And of course, I took some notes and all that, which is interesting. And of course, I had some other questions. Obviously, they didn't answer those things here on this particular press conference. But, I did have some pressing questions that I saw some of you guys ask the same things, that were kind of floating through the chat. And I was like, yeah, those are some really good questions to ask to somebody, a professional or an expert in law or a lawyer themselves. So I'm going to be reaching out to some people and seeing what I can do about bringing somebody on to talk about these things, like something like marital law. That is something that I found to be very interesting and intriguing for me. Because of course there's marital law. We already know about those things. It does exist. It's not like something I'm like, oh, marital law exists. No. It's not even like that. But I was surprised that he was hiding. It's almost like he's hiding behind, or at least using marital law as a shield. Allegedly, right? They're asking for possessions, so on and so forth. Like I said, let me share with you guys what I mean. As far as what this article is saying now, which is interesting. Now they're saying that deal releases Mica Miller's belongings to family attorney, which I think is interesting, right? So hold on, let me get this notebook out of the way. I'll be back to that notebook in just a second. But I think it's interesting. Like I said, it's like this, he's hiding behind the marital law to have possession of her things. And it's like, well, why do you want her stuff? Why is it so important that you need her ish? You know what I mean? If it's just clothes and a couple books and, knickknacks and paddywhacks and give a dog a bones, why would he need all that stuff? Why would he hide behind marital law to hold on to these items? Why couldn't he just release it to the family and call it a day? The fact that they had to get a lawyer involved to get that stuff is pretty crazy to me. Okay? And that obviously makes you go, things that make you go, right? Or am I the only one here that was side-eyeing that? Like, why are you doing all that work? Why? Just for some clothes, some shoes, and maybe some books and pictures. Like, hold on to the pictures that are with you, that are of you and her together, right? Maybe group photos, stuff like that. And then release the rest of the stuff. Release everything else. You don't need her dirty drawers. You don't need her tube socks and sneakers. Give them the stuff. You know what I'm saying? That seems weird. And that's when people start side-eyeing and going, what's up with this though, bruh? Let's look at this article, though. All right, they're releasing the belongings. So some of Micah, let me blow this up for y'all in the nosebleed seats. Hold on. Let me make sure you guys can all see this in the nosebleed seats. Okay. Says some of Mica Miller's personal belongings will be turned over to an attorney after lawyers for her family and her husband, J.P. Miller, reached an agreement today. On the primary issues we were seeking, a court order from the judge is possession of Micah's personal property that is being held in possession of the Robeson County Sheriff's Department. And then that's the other thing. In my head, I'm going, why do they have that stuff, right? Why? Why are they still? Why do they still have that in their possessions if this was an open and shut case, right? Let me continue on, though. All right. And of course, she just said this in an hour-long news conference that we just watched with the attorney, Regina Ward. Damn, Regina. I know it's damn Gina, but you know what I'm saying. Let's move on. The property that's with them is her personal cell phone, her purse, whatever's inside her purse, her vehicle, and whatever inside her vehicle. As far as anything beyond that, we are not sure what's all available, but this was something that we wanted to make sure we got in our custody. Now, of course, we already know about Pastor JP, but this is something that's very interesting to me, though. Okay? 5-0 has possession of these things. Now, if 5-0 is not connected to JP, and I know there's been theories and rumors running amok. We don't know for sure if he has any connections with 5-0. That's just things that are being said, right? That is just rumor thus far. I mean, we have to be fair to a certain extent. We have to leave innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. And we also have to rely on the fact that a lot of things are out here have been based solely on just rumor mill. Right? Things that the streets are saying. Now, I know that there's a lot of things that are being said by the family, which is very interesting, but I have yet to hear the Francis family, Mica Miller's family, okay? But I have yet to hear Mica Miller's family say anything about him having any type of connection with 5-0, with local PD. I'm waiting to hear that, though, and I'm here for it when it does, if and when it ever does come out of their mouths. But I've yet to hear anything about them, about JP, greasing these guys, greasing some 5-0's pockets and whatnot. But apparently this man is rolling in dough. From my understanding, this dude is rolling in dough. He's got a private plane. He's got a whole church. He's got multiple vehicles. He gets to cosplay in authentically made Spider-Man outfits. By the way, those costumes aren't cheap, baby. They are not cheap. All right. That authentic cosplay stuff, it's not cheap. All right. And we've had conversations. Yeah. S-dubs, tax-free. Joel Osteen. God is good. Give me your money. And then I'm going to stuff it into a wall. But moving on. What's interesting, though, like I said, if this stuff is actually 110% true that he has connections with 5-0, then there's no point in getting her stuff at all. All that stuff will be wiped clean. Or at least anything that is incriminating towards JP. I'm just saying, if this is true, and only if this is true, that information, the purse, whatever's inside her purse, what's in her vehicle, what's ever inside her vehicle, her mother-loving cell phone, all those things, anything that could be incriminating, gone, erased, destroyed. Sure, you can bring somebody in with the phone, because remember, Pig Vomit was like, oh, I didn't know, I accidentally factory reset my phone. But you can have my phone. I accidentally factory reset it. And they were still able to find countless images of Madeline Soto in his phone. So, hey, If family got a tech wizard that knows how to do that technology witchcraft, that hoodoo voodoo on these cell phones and on whatever else was in her purse and all that is digital, then yeah, they're screwed. Then JP screwed if there's anything incriminating on the phone. But at the same time, for them to retrieve those things would be great for them. It gets them a little bit more clarity, a better understanding of what the heck happened. The other thing, though, too, is like, the other thing, too, that really aggravates me, because they never say anything in the reports, is that of what was the last thing she did, aside from Googling closest national park, which from what we know, she may have Googled that herself, or somebody else may have typed that in. I know that's stirring the pot of speculation and conspirizing, and I know a lot of people are leaning on the conspiracy theory side of things as of late, but you never know. Everything's still up in the air, and that possibility is still on the table until proven otherwise. But it does make you wonder what was being said. Did she receive a text message? Did she receive a photo? Did she receive a phone call from somebody? Maybe JP saying something that drove her beyond the edge, that made her go, I can't do this anymore. Get the pew pew, Google where the nearest national park is, and then, of course, meeting to her demise. I'm just saying, I'm asking these questions because I think those things are extremely important. And if you notice, the timeline that 5-0 has given out, right, has been like, at this time she did this, at this time she did that. She Googled this. Or actually, I'm sorry, she went to the pawn shop. She bought the pew pew. She Googled this. She went to the gas station. She Googled this. We see her driving, eastbound on such and such and such and such. We see his car driving southbound on such and such and such and such. We see all that stuff, but they don't tell us everything that's going on in her phone. They don't. They don't say she received a phone call or a text message from somebody that said, your ass is mine or something, anything. I just dropped another photo on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Another spicy photo of you on Facebook. Or, I'm about to expose you or something of that sort. We don't hear anything about that. All we hear is about her Googling nearest national park and her dialing 911. You're telling me she didn't talk to nobody? She didn't receive any text messages during that timeline? Do you realize how many text messages I get a day? It's insane, okay? From all kinds of people. Phone calls from all kinds of people. You're telling me she didn't receive not one thing the entire time, from the moment she drove out to get to the pawn shop to the moment she drove all the way out to the national park, before she made that 911 call? She didn't talk to nobody. That cell phone would tell us some things. It would. So like I said, it's like a make it make sense type of situation. It's very odd to me. Real quick, let me get this super chat real quick. Thank you so much, Tipsy. Gypsy, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you, Pascal. Justice for Micah. Yes. And the thing is if anything, like the lawyer said, Regina, she's right. If anything, her legacy is going to move, is going to transcend. Her legacy is going to live on, right? Through this Micah's law, right? Through this Micah's law, things hopefully can change for the better for not only just women, but also men too. I'm sorry for saying that. I know ladies out there, you guys are saying, ladies, make yourselves heard, but men too. Let's not forget, there's a lot of men out here that go through the ringer as well, go through hell as well. Just so you guys know, we got to keep it somewhat even to a certain extent. All right. But in this particular situation, yes, she went through some stuff. And it's tragic. And it's mind-blowing what she went through, right? And that Micah's law, which let's talk about that for a second, which would be absolutely amazing. And I think extremely helpful. All right. Yeah, we already know about all this. Actually, hold on. Let me read a little bit more of this. Hold on. Let me share with y'all. And another thing, Roxanne, thank you so much for the $10 Cash App. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate the support. But of course, his lawyer would be able to ask us about having access to it. Or of course, let me say this again, okay? Ward, the lawyer, Micah's family's lawyer, said the car Micah drove to Lumber River was titled to her godmother, who will retain possession of it under the terms of the agreement. His lawyer, she says, his lawyer would be able to ask us having access to it. But right now, we are very satisfied and happy that he has been advised by his attorney to allow us to get that property in our possession. And again, why would he want to hold on to this in the first doggone place? Why? What would be what's concerning him so much? What's in the car? What's with the car that he would need the car? You see what I'm saying? When it ain't even his. So he can't even sit in there and go, oh, you know, marital law. It's my car because she's my wife. No. It's not even your car. It's her godmother's car. Anyway, moving on. Affidavits filed May 2nd by Sierra and Nathaniel Francis, her brother and sister, all right, bolstered claims that JP aided his late wife. Those claims included him placing multiple GPS trackers on her vehicle, slashing her vehicle's tires with razor blades, and leaking an explicit photo of her online. All right. Now, of course, in the affidavit, just a quick reminder, Micah told me on numerous occasions, this is according to Sierra's affidavit, told me on numerous occasions that she feared JP and just wanted to escape him. I'm sorry. And this is what Nathaniel said in his affidavit, supporting his sister Sierra's claims to administer Micah's estate. I believe that my sister Sierra is the appropriate person to step into Micah's shoes and continue what was started by her, both to secure her assets and to determine her portion of the marital estate. Now, of course, last month, Regina Ward, the attorney representing Mica Miller and her family, said that Micah kept a journal describing emotional threats and control over her by JP. She said the authorities still have her phone, purse, and that those items could be useful in pursuing civil action. All right. And also, she also told News Nation that a wrongful death suit against JP was being considered. Which, of course, in my personal opinion, that would be big. And I'm sure a lot of us would be down to see something like that happen in the very near future, right? Because again, I believe what happened to this young woman is, well, we've said it a million times. I think she was pushed to the edge. And I think her family deserves the justice. Absolutely. Now, I know that the family believes there's more to this, that the crime scene, it was staged. And I don't know. I personally do not know. I'm not boots on the ground. I'm not in the area. I've never seen the scene where they found her body. I only know the details and from what eyewitnesses have said in articles and in interviews. But it is absolutely crazy to think that there's so many unanswered questions that have led us down a route of where the possibilities are really there, and I think that's the possibility of foul play is there, that it's not so cut and dry, not so black and white, that there's a lot of gray within this particular case. And I think that's really mind blowing, in my personal opinion. Kate's Boo, thank you so much for the love. I appreciate you from all the way down under. We passed the coercive control law in 2022. It's saving my lives, or I think it's saving many lives, I think you're saying. I hope they implement Micah's law urgently. Petition for it. Yes, I agree. And I think it's amazing that there are, that it's being implemented in other countries, at least. And I think that's amazing. Hopefully that does actually happen, right? And Emily, welcome to the family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And just like Emily, please consider becoming a member of the family by hitting that join button down below. That'd be greatly appreciated. We'd love to have you a part of the family. All right. So welcome to the family. I appreciate you for taking the time and showing some love. So, okay, let's talk about this, because they did talk about the coercive control bill, the House bill number 5271. And this was already out here since February of 2020, which I think is really interesting. So it's been sitting around for damn near over 4 years now, right? I think that's really crazy, and that nothing has happened with it. So of course they're taking the bill and they're kind of revamping it and hopefully getting it out there, especially behind or utilizing Micah's name to maybe inspire this bill to get passed. One thing also I will say, and then I think is awesome as well, is that this law, if it is passed, will be a felony. So a perpetrator could look at a sentencing up to 10 years for doing any of these things that are being said in this mug. Okay. And it's a lot of A, for lack of a better term. Okay. So I'm going to be using a lot of code words when it comes to the list, but I mean, it's everything from emotional A to ignoring a request to stop. Now, of course, we already know about emotional A. I mean, we've been seeing this mother lover allegedly doing this to Micah. We've been seeing that. We've seen footage of that kind of stuff, right? And that's more than just the harassment and the lurking, right? We've seen a lot of that. And then we see his attitude and how he's been treating other family members with their group text being like, see what you did. This is all your fault, right? It's pretty crazy. Ignoring requests to stop. Yeah. Simply, hey, can you please stop doing this ish? Okay? Stop. And it's not a cute like stop. No, it's stop. Stop it. And it still continues to happen. You got cohorts, you got yourself, you got all these people attacking Micah when all she wants to do is be free, free from the abuse, free from the clutches. That's crazy. All right. This part I thought was interesting, and maybe somebody can explain this because I kind of missed this part. But she said cruelty to pets, and I don't know if she was meaning like using that as an example to like the cruelty of Micah, but I thought that was weird. I thought that was interesting. All right. And then these two are destruction of property, which of course we've already been hearing about that, where he's going and just, vandalizing her car, putting trackers on her car. I mean, just doing certain things to her own property, which is insane. Let's not forget that any time that there's ever been an issue or a fight or whatever, he's gone and just thrown her stuff out. Destruction of property. Moving on. Destruction of evidence against against perpetrator. Interesting. So you're telling me all the information that she has, maybe she's been doing, what Sierra and Nathaniel claim in the affidavits, that she had piles and piles of files, digital information, notebooks, and whatnot that would totally bury this man. And then suddenly all those things were gone. Now, were they destroyed? Maybe. I'm sure they were destroyed. Without a doubt. I'm sure they were destroyed, right? Okay? But that's just an example. Or any time that she has anything that would show proof of him being an absolute monster, he would just have that stuff deleted, destroyed, etc. Okay? Misuse of legal documents, which of course, calling police, right? Misuse of law enforcement, right? Misuse of the legal process, etc. All those things, I'll just put all under one umbrella, okay? All of those are absolutely insane. Because for a fact he's utilizing the police. He's utilizing calling up the police and making claims. Oh, she's not doing this enough. Or I have a problem with this, that, and the third. Or I'm going to make a report so it makes it look like you are a terrible human being. Remember, he even said himself on that interview with Justin on TikTok. He even said, these reports, that come out, you don't even know. So sometimes you can sit there and say, Big Bird killed the Cookie Monster, and they still have to write it down. So you know this, at least from what I understand. At least that's what you said on Justin on TikTok. You're able to say that. So are you utilizing that ability too? So you stacking up paperwork to make it seem like Micah is off her rocker? Think about it for a second. They have to write it down, as he said. They have to make those reports. So if anybody wants to get that out for public knowledge, that report is out there for everyone to see. Oh, she's lost her mind because of X, Y, and Z. She stole money. She's withholding money. She just took the money that we were going to use for the school in Kenya. Make a report about it. Boom. Now she's a thief. Whether or not that's true or not, now it's out there. You see what I'm saying? He even said it himself on that interview with Justin on TikTok. It's just very interesting. Okay. Just for example. All right. Just an example. Oh, and let's not forget too. Oh, she's gone. She's gone crazy. Let's lock her up. Marital law. She's my wife. I need to have her locked up. I'm sorry. She has mental health issues. She got to go bye-bye. See, she does this every once in a while. Once a year, around this time, she just goes off her rocker. We need to lock her up. Interesting, right? Marital law. Interesting. Stealing a person's identity. Wow. Now there's full claims that he was having access to her phone, to her social medias, and all that, impersonating her and having conversations with people. Remember, he said this in a sermon too. He really did. He said, and I don't want to, I'm going to loosely quote, but he said something along the lines of, hey, I saw people reaching out to her via text message and social media, reaching out to her, I guess, in support of taking off, leaving him or whatever. And then he said a lot of them were, a good portion of those people were men. You know what he's trying to do, right? He's sitting there going, look how terrible my wife is. Now she's gallivanting with scallywags. Now she's a doggone hussy. Two-timing You see what I'm saying? And he's saying this in the pulpit. The only reason why he would know any of this stuff, if it's even true, is because he had access to her social media accounts, her phone, etc. Whenever she would get locked up, because in his opinion, she wasn't mentally well, he'd grab her phone. He'd have possession of those things and be able to go and comb through everything. At least that's what's being alleged in the affidavits and all that as well. Medical A, plying her with, well, we just talked about it a second ago, plying her with medication, prescription drugs, saying she's not well, shoving her into a mental health facility and all that stuff. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, boy. He out here doing that too. So anytime, like I talked about this yesterday, like I said this yesterday, if ever, and this is just my theory, if ever she retaliated, if ever she said no, he said, oh, you crazy. We got to lock you up now. You want to get away from me? That means you're crazy. That means you do not appreciate or respect this union. You are my wife. You don't want to hear me? You don't want to say yes to me? You go into the mental slammer. See ya. And that's exactly what he did. Now, that's just my theory, but it's very interesting. I feel like anytime she has a moment of clarity, anytime that they get into a fight, a disagreement, because relationships, people fight. You get into disagreements and all that stuff. It's how you handle those arguments is where it matters the most, right? But I don't think he handles it very well if she says no, if she disagrees with him. In fact, I don't think she even is allowed to have an opinion. Just saying that out loud. And then guess what happens? Oh, you're crazy. Time to lock you up. Just saying. Interesting. Oh, and spiritual A. Spiritual A. We've talked about this a little bit, but I do find it very interesting, okay? And also shout out to Court TV in the house. What up? What up? Welcome back into the show. Thank you so much for coming in and showing some support. Welcome to Court TV. Now, here's the thing. Spiritual A. Let's get into this. I think it's very interesting. And she also said position A, or like position abuse. And I think they're one and the same within this particular case, because he's using God as the kryptonite against Micah, using the fact that he is the preacher, right? He is the man. He is the lead of the show. He's the one spiritually leading his pack, healing these individuals and whatnot, right? He's using that. And he's taking advantage of that to keep control over Micah. Because she's a God-fearing, God-loving individual. All she wants to do is give. All she wants to do is preach the good word, bring people closer to God and all that stuff. But if she maybe has a different idea of something, he uses that to his advantage to take control and take over this woman. That's what I think. In fact, if ever, and there's been a couple times she's tried to run off, get away from him. And I think he uses God and their relationship, their holy matrimony, to try to lure her back. This is not very godly of you. How dare you? This is not very godly of you. You are married to me under God. Spiritual A. How dare you? Honor thy husband type ish. You see what I'm saying? Which it should, you should honor your husband if you're married, and you should honor your wife too. I mean, obviously, duh. But I think he uses that to be like, that's the ace up his sleeve every time. You got someone who is so God loving, so connected to her spirituality, and just wants to do right. And guess what? Guess what? He knows. And he uses that to the best of his ability. In fact, hold on. Let me check something because I got receipts. I think I got receipts. Hold on. I want to make sure I have something. And if that is the case, we're going to listen to something because I think you guys need to hear this. Because this is exactly what I think the brainwashing in the spiritual A does come into play a little bit. So just give me 2 seconds. I'm just trying to find this. It's been a while since I've seen this. So let me make sure I have it. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Nope, that's not it. 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for blessing me with some grace. This is going to drive me crazy. I thought I did. Nope, that's not it either. This is going to drive me crazy. 1 second, guys. I'm still looking. Okay. Let me just explain to you what I'm talking about. There is a phone call that she made to JP. And there it is. I found it. Man. Now, one second. Let me make sure I can share this with you guys. I just want to play the audio. I want you to hear it. The reason why I say that this audio. Shoot, hold on. The reason why I say this audio I think is important. It gives us a little bit more insight, I think, into the brainwashing of this situation. And it's just a small example. It's not like it's him going off on her or anything of that sort. It's her having a phone call. It's her calling him and putting in, trying to maybe in a way like level with him a little bit, which is interesting because she's trying to level with him. She's trying to have a conversation with him. I could tell she's coming from trying to understand things. But I think she's also trying to come from a loving place or a godly spiritual place too. But then she says some things that she's like confused about. I'm going to play the audio for you guys. But like I said, this is just a small sample. Okay. This is a phone call that she had, it's a voicemail. I'm sorry. From Micah to JP. Okay. And so let me just play a little bit of this for you guys.
My husband, I never should have left you. I never should have abandoned you when you were trying to work things out. I never should have put anybody else before you. I love you. At this point, I don't even know who my husband is because I don't have a paper trail. I don't have a copy of my marriage license and where it was filed and proof that I am married to who the world thinks I'm married to, who I think I'm married to.
First off, real quick, I just want to point this out. This is very odd to me. Okay? This information, the fact that she's saying that. Now, Of course, some might look at that and go, okay, that's mental health. But then others might look at that and go, and I know this is not the part that I'm trying to show you guys, but I'm trying to say the fact that she's even asking if they're actually even married legally says something very interesting in my personal opinion. Okay. And it is her making this phone call. Okay. But let me continue.
I don't even know anymore. I'm getting tax records from Mica Miller. I don't even know what my last name is. I know I'm Micah Acacia. I know I'm that. My parents gave me those two names. That's on my original birth certificate. Still is today. But I don't know who I belong to under God and legally anymore because I don't have a paper trail. And that's important because if you get put on life support, if you are mentally unable or unfit to run the church, I need to know the paper trail. Who's in charge? We got a lot of assets, a lot of money to guard. This is not our money. It's God's money. And whose money was that? Before God, he put it in the pockets of people. And then those people gave it to us and entrusted us with God's money in God's house to do as God wishes.
You know, it's interesting because I played this audio before. Like I've played this audio before. But now that you've heard information out here about her going to the IRS, I don't know if you guys know about that. Maybe you guys are savvy. But her going to the IRS because of JP and the church the same week she passes away. And we're listening to this right here. And she's going, I don't even know who I'm married to. Am I even really married to this man? And then, of course, she's like, hey, I want to be able to take care of you if ish hits the fan. And if I don't even know who I'm married to under God, that's a big problem, right? And there's a whole lot of money that's coming into the church that I don't even know what's going on here. I'm going to continue this, but that's wild. And I mean, the amount of manipulation, the amount of right? I mean, there's a whole list of okay? And then some, okay? Position abuse, the spiritual, etc. She has so many questions and she hasn't even gotten those things answered at all. That's crazy to me, guys. Now that we listen to this audio again, doesn't it sound even more suspicious? Don't you think? I'm gonna play a little bit more. But she even is bringing in God into the conversation. So you know for a fact she's a God-fearing, God-loving individual. She just wants things to make sense. She just wants to understand things. She married somebody under God. At least last she checked. And she knows how this church is printing money. Okay? And he owns it. It's his spot. Solid Rock Church is him and he is Solid Rock Church. They got a private plane. They got their own stuff. You know what I mean? They making monies. They're printing money out of that place. She knows these things. And then some. And then the same week that she goes to the IRS, she's gone. I'm going to play a little bit more.
But I don't know steering the boat anymore, and that concerns me. I'd like a paper trail. I don't feel like that's too much to ask from the First Lady, or maybe the First Lady of Solid Rock. Us, with God's money, in God's house, to do as God wishes. But I don't know who's steering the boat anymore, and that concerns me.
She says, I don't know who's steering the boat anymore. Okay, just so you know. And she says, I'd like a paper trail right here.
Like a paper trail. I don't feel like that's too much to ask from the First Lady, or maybe the First Lady of Solid Rock.
She wants a paper trail.
In case something happens to you. I love you. This isn't to harm you. I love you. Bye.
Okay. Now that you've heard that, interesting, right? She obviously wants to understand more. She obviously wants to know more of what's going on in that church. She is the First Lady. She is his partner. But she doesn't even know the paper trail. She doesn't even know where the money, how the money is being done and all that stuff. She's asking all the viable questions that I think everybody wants to know. But then as she starts to deep dive into things, at least this is from what I'm feeling right here, I think she found out some things that she did not expect to find out. And it's beyond just the things that they were doing behind closed doors. She went to the IRS. Hold on. You know what? I'm going to do y'all solid. Okay? I'm going to do y'all solid. Because I'm just going to. Because see, this is one thing. Like, I love the Fitz News Network. You know what I mean? They do a really great job in covering this case and all that. But there are some things that are like, there's just some things that just were. They have a paywall, and it's frustrating because sometimes you just want to get the information and they don't want you to have it because of the paywall. So hold on. Hold on, sorry. So I am going to, whoops, nope. Hold on. Now, where is it? Where did it go? Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just doing this all like last minute, impromptu, but I just want to give you guys, I'm trying to give you guys as much info and as much receipts as I bloody can, So hold on, loves. Okay. Uno momento. This is from Justin on TikTok, so I want to share this with you guys. Because I guess he paid for it. He went through the paywall. Hold on. And I appreciate him giving the info because this is some information that never came out. This is some information that never ever came out during that interview with Anna Francis. But apparently, this is from Anna Francis. This is coming from her own mouth. But I want you to know that this is coming from a source. This is coming from Fitz News, and it wasn't in the interview that we watched yesterday. But apparently, there was more that was being said in the interview. I guess there was more that they said later on, and they put it in an article. And this is very, very interesting. So I have to share it with you guys. I'm sure Justin's okay with me sharing this with y'all. Okay. Shout out to Justin. He's been doing a great job covering this particular case, obviously. But I do want to share this with you guys nonetheless. All right. Take a listen to this.
Y'all, we got a lot of new information regarding Mica Miller, and some of it is huge. So this information is coming from Anna Francis, who is one of Micah's sisters, and it's the first interview that she has done since Micah's death. Now, according to all the police reports and even JP's own admission, we already know that he was tracking Micah. It apparently goes so much deeper than we thought, because in addition to having the vehicle trackers, he apparently was always tracking her phone.
This stuff we already know. This is all old news at this point. He says it later. Just give it time.
And when she did finally decide to leave JP, one of the first things she did was go get a new phone so that he couldn't track her anymore, even though there were still trackers on her car. Now, this next part is huge, so let me read this statement from Anna. Francis says her sister knew she was heading into battle and had begun arming herself by documenting years of alleged abuse at the hands of her husband. After Micah was released from the mental health facility, John Paul refused to return her phone, computer, or purse. So Micah started over again with vigor, collecting evidence, affidavits, and here it comes, even reporting the church her husband ran to the Internal Revenue Service. But that's not it. That report to the IRS was made the week she died.
Yeah.
Micah's family also said that Robeson County police did an incomplete investigation, and they firmly believe that Micah's body was placed where the police found it and that the self-unaliving was staged. Anyways, there is so much more on this, so stay tuned. Hit that follow button if you are so inclined. But this IRS thing, that is massive.
And I agree. You got somebody, and you just heard that audio. You just heard the audio where she's sitting there going, I need to see a paper trail. I need to see what's going on. So, and she's doing her due diligence, as you heard it from Justin. Obviously, these are the same reports that we've heard millions of times. She's been collecting all kinds of information, all kinds of stuff, because she knew that this church possibly has been doing some very bad things. And I'm telling you right now, I'm thinking we're only scratching the surface of what really is going on. Again, you heard that audio. She's like, I love you. I want to work. I want to be with you. I want to know who I'm married to. I don't even have a marriage license, which, by the way, I don't know if that's entirely true or not. I don't know. Okay. And some people might go, well, that's her mentally, maybe having mental health issues. I don't know about that. But and I'm going to say this though, but if you find out that your partner is possibly doing a lot of bad doings financially out there, fraud, embezzlements, etc., and you're married to that person, I'm sure you're going to sit there and go, oh, damn, am I really married to this person? If you've been conning all these people, could you have conned me as well? Can I see the paperwork that says that we're actually married? Because I need to know that for sure. Can I understand everything? Can we sit down and get down to brass tacks and understand how everything works here? Can I see a paper trail? That's all I ask. Can I see a paper trail? And then guess what? You just heard it. She went to the IRS. And then that same week, she's gone. Honestly, I think she was unearthing some really damning info. I think we're just scratching the surface. There could be a very dark underbelly to this case, darker than we've actually heard. That's what I truly believe now. But you heard that. You heard that voicemail. Now, when you put those things together, how does that equate for you? Don't worry. Take your time. We got time. And of course, let's not forget the physical A. This is all going back to the Micah's law, okay? Let's not forget the physical abuse that she endured. Crazy, right? So again, this would be considered a felony if this gets passed, which I'm sure a lot of y'all would love to see that pass. So would I. This is somebody who has gone through the ringer and then some, to the point where she couldn't take it anymore. I think she realized a lot. I think there was a lot of things that came to light for her. It was a extremely unwarranted and devastating rude awakening, I'm thinking, for her. And that I feel like also you have somebody who has, from what I understand and from what I've gathered, because you see how many people are rallying behind her. This is somebody who has a huge heart. This is somebody who wanted to do good. And imagine being the first lady of a church that is not doing good, allegedly. And imagine that person who is going through mental health issues, who has had a lot of moments of clarity, who is dealing with a not so great person tormenting her, following her around, putting trackers on her car, all that stuff. And if she was to find out how the money really was out here, how they really made money, or how the money was, how money is being hidden and all that, if she realizes that there's fraud and there's something bigger going on, I could see her breaking, because I could see her saying, this is not what I represent. This is not at all what I represent and what I've been working for. And it's all been hiding right there in plain sight as we're taking these worshipers, people who come to our services, taking their money and using it or hiding it from, embezzling it and not using it for the things that we say we are actually going to be using it for. Think about that too for a second. Think about that too. If that really is 110% true, going to the IRS, she may have found out a lot of stuff that she didn't want to find out. That may have just broke her heart into a million pieces. Think about that for a second as I do this. Roxanne, thank you so much for becoming a member. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Welcome to the family. Just like Roxanne, go become a member. Hit that join button down below. That'd be greatly appreciated, all right? And Emily, thank you so much for gifting five people memberships. And for those of y'all who just became members that were just gifted, all I ask, please pay it forward. Buy somebody a coffee. Hold a door open for somebody. Just do something positive with that blessing. All right. And also, if you want to just return the favor, gift somebody else in the chat. I think that would be really amazing. But like I said, you don't have to do that. All I ask is for you to pay it forward by doing something positive. Okay. Mimi, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Hi to you as well. All right. Thank you so much. Jan Marie, thank you so much for the super sticker. My boy Lollipop. It's not even brainwash. The department is inconceivable. Yeah. I'm thinking, sorry, the depth is inconceivable. You're right. I thought it was the abbreviation for the department. Yes, I absolutely agree 110%. It is scary. The fact, like, we talking about levels, bruh. Okay. We talking about the iceberg. Okay. And we about to descend, not like the Titan, but we're about to descend and we're about to see the rest of this iceberg. That whole 90% mass underneath this water. And I don't know if we want to see it. I don't know if we want to see it. I don't know. But it's, yeah, inconceivable, right? Crazy. Esmeralda, thank you so much for the super sticker. I really do appreciate it. Melee, thank you so much for gifting one person a membership. Yes, sharing is caring. Like I said, pay it forward. Do something positive for somebody, okay? We need more positivity in this doggone world, okay? We need that more than you even realize. In fact, the more and more we start learning about these cases and the more and more we get deeper and deeper into this conversation and learning more about this case, holy cow, man, holy cow. But like I said, think about it for just a few minutes. Replay the audio. Take a listen to it. The voicemail. You hear the IRS thing and you hear that at the afterwards. And you're going, oh my word. Now, that could be nothing. Or it could be everything all at the same time. That's why I highly recommend y'all to go and take a look at it. Take a listen and just come up with your own thoughts. All right? With your own conclusions. But I still say, I don't understand why law enforcement still has possession over these belongings. Cell phones, laptops, her purse, her car. I still don't understand why they still have it. If this was treated or looked at as a self-induced situation. That is a huge problem for me. I still have my beliefs. Like I said, I still believe that we've gone down, it's going down this route. Okay. But still, a lot of sinister things led her down this route. That's what I truly believe. Now, why would they still have her car? Why would they still have her cell phone? Why would they still have her purse and things? Doesn't make any sense to me at all. At some point, they should have, at this point, relinquished those things to the family or even to JP. Here's the information. Here's the stuff. Here are her belongings. They still have that stuff? If they're not doing an investigation, why do they have her stuff? Give it to the family. If it's an open and shut case, why do you have that stuff? Very interesting, guys. Very interesting indeed. Like I said, just something to think about. Something to think about. All right. Pretty crazy stuff. And hey, this might be me reading into some things, but at the same time, I don't think I'm the only one reading into these things. Okay. I'm going to keep it a buck. I'm going to keep it 100 with y'all. All right. So, 1 second. So again, guys, we're going to keep our eyes on this case. There's a lot going on with this. I really do hope that Micah's Law does get out here and gets the light as much as it can under the sun. Hold on, let me see this. Hold on, I'm trying to get the, because I had it before. Boom. I want to make sure you guys have this too. So I'm going to put this in the chat. All right. But there is a change.org petition, out here for Micah's Law. All right. Enforce South Carolina law to protect against stalking harassment, Micah's Law. So I do want to remind you guys that does exist. I'm going to pin this to the top of the chat right now as we speak. Please go check it out. Please show some support. All right. This matters. And hopefully we could turn this into something that protects everyone throughout the entire country. But the fact that it's been sitting, another version of it's been sitting, just collecting dust for the last 4+ years is absolutely mind-blowing to me. So hopefully we can make some changes with that. Sign that petition. Go to, change.org. The link is in the top of the chat. please sign it. They're trying to get to 7,500 signatures. Okay, they're getting there. So please start signing it ASAP, Rocky. Okay. But anyway, guys, it is time to get going. I appreciate all y'all for being here. It really does mean a lot. You know for a fact, if there's any information, any updates revolving around this case, we will be talking about it. Trust and believe. I promise you guys, we will be talking about it. Okay. There's got to be some sort of version of justice for Micah. Okay. There's got to be some sort of justice for Micah. If that means we pass this law, we get this law passed, and it starts protecting others, then that's a win. Shoot, JP may just live out here, live out here free as a bird. You never know. Only time will tell, and it only depends on what happens legally out here. Okay, and again, it is still innocent until proven guilty. I know. But it depends on what happens with paperwork, with lawsuits, and all that for justice to be sought after for Micah when it comes to JP. So we'll see what happens here. We will definitely see what happens. So do me a favor, guys. Hit that like button down below. Please crush it. Do what you need to do. All right, if you're watching on Facebook or any of these other platforms, please be sure to hit that reaction button down below. That'd be greatly appreciated. Of course, do not forget to hit that follow button if you're watching on Facebook, X/Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, you name it, all those social media platforms. Please follow me over there. That'd be greatly appreciated. Do not forget to crush that subscribe button here on my YouTube channel. Support if you can by going and becoming a member if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that join button down below, or you can go and check out patreon.com/the Pascal Show. It's in the ticker down below right there. All right. Anyway, guys, it's time to get going. Much love to you guys. Justice from Micah. That's what I'm praying for. That's what I'm hoping for. And I think we all are wanting that as well. We'll see how swiftly it comes. Only time will tell. Anyway, guys, it's time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. Talk to you guys soon. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.